The word of love is common, and anyone knows it. But no one knows actual meaning of it. Some people will say, I know it, and some people asks, what is love? Moreover, some people misunderstands it, and some people understands it properly. This word is abused in a song flowing at city. It often becomes the theme of the movie and literature, too. It is a common word. And it is an important word. What is love on earth? Here, the actual meaning of this word is cleared up. There are people who misunderstand the word of love in this world, still. Rather, the people of the majority seem to be misunderstanding. In other words, they believe it to be to fall in love with the opposite sex. Young man and woman meet and fall in love. So many people believe this is love. Such a people are believing that a man and a woman do sex is love. We must get it clear here. Love is not man's and woman's association, and not to do sex. Pure man's and woman's association should be the process to search for the marriage partner. Impure association is a mere desire. Sex before the marriage is adultery. Exactly. Especially, many Japanese people confuse and misunderstand sex and love, and they make adultery at the Christmas of Saintly Day. It is the actual condition. They don't notice that they profane God. Real love is not such a thing. Actual love is to cherish others. It means love for family, love for brother and sister, love for neighbors, love for nature, love for the earth, and love for universe. When you saw them, if you want to save the people who suffer, as much as your heart pain, there is love in your heart. That does exist in anyone. That sleeps in the man who is heartless seemingly, too. Though you may be surprising, that is in the heinous murderous fiend as well. It is because a murderous fiend is a human being, too. God modeled men after God. Where is that pattern? It is in our soul. Any human being is an object that be called soul. Any human being had surely done terrible evil sin at his past life. Because all of us are supposed to have been ever born under the wartime. Isn't the history of the earth the repetition of the war? Even now, severe war is going on in the Middle East. We are repeating reincarnation in such earth. Who can avoid that reincarnation in the cruel environment? Then, men learn mercy by hardship. That is being recorded in our soul. Even though we forget it. It is the true love that a mind which we want to save such people who suffers. The mind considerate to family, not only outside people. The mind that you wants to help the foreign people and neighbors and passer-by, not only inside people. That is love. The people who understand such a thing have been increasing recently. Well, what is mercy in concretely? It is to be considerate of the people who suffering from the war, the people who suffering from hunger, and lonely old men, orphans, handicapped men, homeless, and so on. Mother Teresa crossed from the country of Macedonia to India, and she saved the people who began to be dead. In those days, India was in the discriminatory society. It is so even in the present. Many naked people who began to be dead with the hunger were on the road. She went to India solo, without both money and supporter. Her first activities were to help one woman who falls in the ditch and who begins to be dead. After that, her activities became big systematic things. This, the good example of love. Try to think. Can you save even one person's life among your birth and your death? Probably, you will finish your life without saving anyone in your life. If you pressed by daily life and if you just only go to the work, then, when you go to the spiritual world, you don't have the thing to be proud of in front of God. But, if you saved even only one person's life, you really have the thing to be proud in front of God. Concrete activities here. Try to think. You who answered, I know what is love. Are you actually doing the activities of rescue? It isn't sufficient if you understanding just only with the head. The concrete method is to do peace activities, or accuse the importance of proper morality by the word. As other methods is, for instance, you spend your money effectively for the people who suffers, or you just live honestly. It is one form of love. Because if we respect each other, social friction is reduced and dispute will be stopped. If dispute is stopped, men who suffers damage by the war and so on will disappears. Temporarily that a little boy struck his younger brother or a sister. Then, won't his parents scold him? Though a scolded boy will cry, his parents scolded him because they love him. Why did they scold him? Because they want him to grow up as a man of gentle heart. Both the boy and his brother or sister are own children of their parents. And they scolded a boy because they love him. Of course, this is not the promotion of corporal punishment. Violence is improper even if it is from the parents. It supposes that there is a man who exerts violence here. God never leaves them free. God punishes such men in a concept of God's time. Therefore, this world has a structure that scoundrels will ruin someday, even if it is not soon. God punishes them, but he doesn't only get angry for them and he never hates them. God gives them sickness and pain as punishment, because he wants them to regret and renew, and he wants them to recover gentleness. But it is after the long time. God doesn't punish them at once because he expects their voluntary reform. God often carries over the punishment even to that man's next life. Therefore, men live without understanding why we aren't favored or why we have much pain. At present day, it is probably that most people have some problems. For instance, the men suffering from the sickness. The men who isn't blessed with the spouse, the men who has much pain, lonely men. Such a people should understand that they are punished by the God. But it is not God's punishment to suffer harm by the artificial things. In other words, it is not God's will to suffer from others' act. Because a human being doesn't have allowed for God's representative. Scoundrels, the men who exercises violence, the men who deceives others, the men who breaks adultery, the men who covets money and the power, the men who doesn't have mercy, egoist. It is surely decided that such people suffer punishment in the future. Even if it is not soon, they must be born in the cruel land in the next life. The statesmen, the rich men, the famous sport players, the famous musicians, the famous actors, the lawyers, the doctors, the teachers, the men of religion, and the other people of the high social status. Most people correspond to this, because they aren't using their position and money and influential voice effectively for the peace truly. They aren't doing so, therefore the world is in confusion. And human being flatters himself that he comes into power. God doesn't want them to be arrogant. Well, what should we do to release the pain of the future and the present? It is love that God punishes men. So the way we are saved is by only the love. If God knows that the man had the true love, even if God saw him, God gives just the smallest punishment, or it is probably to pass by without giving him punishment. Therefore, you must have love. But it is not for save yourself. That should be for the person whom suffers. God sees through your heart on the surface. God sees through deception. As for the actual love, you must not want reward. Love is a mind of mercy to cherish the men whom suffers. Then, when you are suffering, if you save the people whom suffer, your love rotated and you are decided to be saved. Every day, blood run over the human body maintained our body and heals the sickness. You are a thing like one grain of red corpuscle. If the whole of mankind works, all sorrow on the earth can be healed. Even though one man can't accomplish it, whole of human being can accomplish it. Because you, one human being exists here.